on Steadfastness. The essence of good and evil consists in the condition of our character, and externals are the means by which our character finds its particular good and evil. It finds its good by not attaching value to the means. Correct judgments about externals make our character good, as perverse or distorted ones make it bad. God has fixed this law and says, if you want something good, get it from yourself. But you say, no, I'll get it from another. I say, no, get it from yourself. If a tyrant threatens me at court, I say, what is he threatening? If he says, I will put you in chains, I say, he is threatening my hands and feet. If he says, I will behead you, I say, he is threatening my neck. If he says, I will throw you into prison, I say, he is threatening my entire body. If he threatens exile, I say the same. Well then, aren't you threatened even a little? If I feel these things are nothing to me, then no. But if I fear for any of them, then yes, it is I who am threatened. Who is there left for me to fear, and over what has he control? Not what is in my power, because no one controls that except myself. As for what is not in my power, in that I take no interest. So do you philosophers teach contempt for rulers? Not at all. You don't find any of us preaching defiance of them within their range of competence. My body, my property, my standing in society, my friends, they can have them all. And I challenge anyone to say that I encourage others to lay claim to those things. Yes, the king says, but I want control over your judgments too. Who gave you that power? You cannot add the judgments of others to your conquests. I will win by way of fear. You do not seem to realize that the mind is subject only to itself. It alone can control it, which shows the force and the justice of God's edict. The strong shall always prevail over the weak. 10 are stronger than 1. Yes. For what, though? For taking people captive, for killing or dragging them off, for taking away their property. For main force, yes, 10 are better than 1. But 1 person with right judgments is superior to 10 without. Numbers here are irrelevant. Put them in the balance. The person with correct ideas will outweigh all the others. To think of the indignities Socrates suffered at the hands of the Athenians. Not Socrates, stupid. Express yourself more carefully. To think that Socrates' poor body should have been seized and hauled off to prison by men stronger than it, that somebody gave his poor body hemlock, that it grew progressively colder until it was dead. What seems unjust or outrageous in this, or worth blaming the gods for? Didn't Socrates have resources to compensate? Where was the essence of the good for him? And who is more to be heeded in that regard, him or you? Anytus and Meletus can kill me, but they cannot harm me, he says. If it pleases the gods, so be it. Produce a person who can get the better of someone whose judgments are superior. You can't, though try as you might. This is God's law and nature's. Let the best man win, but best in his area of expertise. One body is stronger than another body. Many bodies are stronger than one. A thief has the advantage here over one who is not a thief. This is how I came to lose my lamp. The thief was better than I in staying awake, but he acquired the lamp at a price. He became a thief for its sake. For its sake, he lost his ability to be trusted. For a lamp, he became a brute, and he imagined he came out ahead. Fine words, you may say, but now I have been seized by the cloak and am being dragged downtown. Bystanders shout, "Hey, philosopher, what good did your views do you after all? Look, you're being hauled off to prison, and soon will be beheaded." Tell me what introduction to philosophy could I have read that would have saved me from being dragged away if a stronger man grabs me by the cloak, or could have kept me out of prison if I am assaulted by a gang of 10. What philosophy has taught me, though, is to be indifferent to events beyond the will's control. Haven't you profited in this respect too? So don't look for help from philosophy except in areas where you have learned that help from it can be found. As I sit in prison, I can say, whoever laughs at me is deaf to the real meaning of words, can't understand what they hear, and doesn't even care to know what it is philosophers say or do. Let them be. But the answer comes, come out of prison. If you have no further need of me in prison, I'll come out. If you need me, I'll go back in again. How long will you keep this up? For as long as the mind chooses to be with the body. But when the mind no longer consents, then you can take my body and farewell to it. Only we must not part with it rashly or irrationally or on trivial pretext, because again, God does not wish it. He needs us. He needs the world that we help populate. If he sounds the signal for retreat, though, as he did for Socrates, we must obey the signal as if it came from our commander-in-chief. Well, should we try telling this to the ignorant mob? What would be the point? It's enough if we are convinced of it ourselves. When children come up to us clapping their hands and shouting, "Today is good Saturnalia," do we say, "The Saturnalia is not good"? Of course not. We clap our hands right along with them. As for you, if you can't change a person's mind, realize that he is no more than a child, and clap hands with him. And if you can't bring yourself to do that, then just keep quiet. It is essential that we remember this, so that when troubles arise, we will know that it's time to exhibit what we've learned. A student fresh out of school who gets into difficulty is like someone practiced in the solving of syllogisms. If anyone gives him an easy one, he says, "Give me a knotty one instead. I want a bit of practice." In the same way, athletes don't like to be paired with pushovers. "He can't lift me," one says. "This other guy is better built." No, when the crisis comes, we groan and say, "I wanted to keep on learning." Keep learning what? If you didn't learn these things in order to demonstrate them, In practice, what did you learn them for? I suppose there might be some who are sitting here, losing patience and thinking, why don't I get to face the kind of challenge he did? I am growing old in a corner when I could be winning a crown at Olympia. When will I be nominated for a similar trial? That is the attitude that all of you should adopt. There are gladiators at Rome who get frustrated if they are not called out and matched with an opponent, all the while begging God and their own supervisors to be allowed to do battle one-on-one. None of you here show anything like the same mettle, which is why I would like to escape to Rome to see my favorite wrestler in action, how he, at least, puts policy into practice. These are not the circumstances that I want. Is it up to you to choose them? You have been given that particular body, these particular parents and brothers, this particular social position and place to live. You come to me hoping that I can somehow change these circumstances for you, not even conscious of the assets that are already yours that make it possible to cope with any situation you face. It is yours to choose the exercise, mine to manage it well. Right. But instead you say, don't set me that kind of hypothetical argument. Give me that one instead. Don't give me that compound proposition. Give me that other one. The time is coming when actors of tragedy will identify with their masks, their high-heeled boots, and their long robe. Wake up. Those are props representing your circumstances and situation. Say something so that we'll know whether you are a tragic actor or the comic relief, because of the costume you two have in common. Does the tragic actor disappear if you take away his boots and mask and bring him on stage a mere shadow of his former self? Or is he still there? If he has the right voice, he remains. So it is in life. Take a governorship. I take it, and when I take it, I show how a real philosopher acts. Take off your senator's robe and put on beggar's rags, and let's have a look at you then. Well, so what? I still have the gift of a fine voice to show off. What role do you appear in now? As a witness called by God. Step forward, you, and bear witness for me. You earned the right to represent me as a witness. Is anything good or bad that is independent of your will? Do I do any man harm? Have I put each man's advantage under the control of anyone except himself? What witness do you bear, God? I'm in difficulty, Lord, and pitiable. No one cares about me, no one helps me. I'm the object of universal scorn. Is that the witness you are going to bear, making a mockery of God's summons when he honored you and judged you worthy to be his public spokesman? But what if someone in authority pronounces you godless and atheistic? How are you affected? I have been judged godless and atheistic. Nothing more? Nothing. If he had passed judgment on a conditional argument and said, the proposition that, if it is day, it is light, I declare to be false. What has happened to the conditional? Who is judged in this case? Who has been condemned? The conditional or the person who got it wrong? Well then, who is this man who is empowered to pass judgment on you? Does he know anything about what is religious or irreligious? Has he studied and learned about it? Where and from whom? You know a musician has no consideration for anyone who mistakes the highest string on the lyre for the lowest, and anyone who affirms that in a circle, lines that extend from the center to the circumference can be unequal, is not going to win the respect of mathematicians. So a true philosopher is under no obligation to respect vulgar opinion as to what is religious or irreligious, what is just or unjust. What dishonor he brings on philosophers in general, if he did. That's not what you learned here. Wouldn't you rather leave petty arguments about these subjects to do-nothings who sit in a corner and receive their little stipend, or get nothing and whine about it? Step forward and make use of what you learned. It isn't more logic chopping that is needed. Our Stoic texts are full of that. What we need now are people to apply their learning and bear witness to their learning in their actions. Please be the one to take on this character. I am tired in my teaching of invoking examples from the past. I want to be able to hold up an example from my own time. Consideration of these factors belongs to people who have the leisure for it, because man is an animal made for abstract thought. But for our honor's sake, let's not be seen studying them as if we were slaves who have run away. We should sit composed, without distraction, listening now to the tragic actor, now to the musician, not act like escapees who are moved to praise the performers, while continually glancing nervously around, and who come apart completely if their master's name is dropped. It is beneath the dignity of philosophers to study nature in this spirit. For what does master mean? Man is not the master of another man. Only death and life are, pleasure and pain. So bring Caesar and not these other things before me, and I am resolute. But when he comes in thunder and lightning, brandishing these things, and I show fear in response, in effect, I have been brought face to face with my master, just like a runaway slave. Even while I have a reprieve from these factors, my attention to the performance is no better than the slave's. I wash, drink, sing, but all in a spirit of gloom and foreboding. If, however, I liberate myself from my master, which is to say, from the emotions that make my master frightening, what troubles can I have? No man is my master any longer. Well, is it our duty to announce these truths to everyone? No. Instead, we need to make allowances for people without the benefit of education and say to ourselves, he is telling me to do this because he imagines it's good for himself as well. So I can't blame him. Socrates himself forgave his jailer when he began to drink the hemlock, and the man broke down in tears, saying, "It shows great generosity of spirit for him to grieve for us." Does he say to the jailer, "That's why we wouldn't let the women in"? No, he only says that to his close friends, to those who can assimilate it. The jailer, though, he indulges as he would a child.